Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Total War Warhammer. So, the latest DLC just released. Well, actually, I'm about a week late. Well, not a week late, but I'm a little bit late, but The Grim and the Grave is here, which adds some kind of interesting content that I would just like to kind of go over. And, well, you can ask yourself while you're watching this, is the DLC worth it? Now, with the Beastmen DLC and the Warriors of Chaos, they add entirely new factions and a little bit different than this one, as it were. The Beastmen one, I feel like, was perhaps a little bit overpriced, but I personally still found it worth it. This DLC, however, is quite a bit cheaper. It's still a $8 DLC, US dollar. I believe, anyways. Yeah, it's $8. But it does something completely different. So it's less than half the price of the Beastmen DLC. Let's just take a quick look at what it does to campaign, because it adds a few new lords here. New campaign, grand campaign. So the first thing that this DLC did is it added some new legendary lords. And the legendary lords they added, by the way, I should also mention this is for the vampires and the empire. That's the two factions that this kind of concentrates on. So for the Empire and the Vampire counts, you get a new legendary lord. For the Empire, you get Volkmar the Grim, who is the Grand I don't know, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but it's the Grand Theogonist? I'm going to say the Grand Theogonist of the Cult of Sigmar, the main religious group of the Empire. Volkmar the Grim has some interesting abilities. He also has this interesting cart he can ride on. He's a very dashing-looking fellow with quite the mustache and scar and glowing eagle thing on his chest. That is very interesting. Anyways, so let's look at what he can do. So for him, his faction effects is negative 15% upkeep cost for flagellant units and weapon strength plus 30% for flagellant units. So that is a very specific bonus. Very much pointed at flagellants. As you can see, these are things that were added with this update, with this DLC as well. The new unit for the Empire called the Flagellants, which are basically crazy religious fanatics who beat themselves with a thing, and they hurt themselves, then they go into battle crazed up and go into a frenzy, and they have no armor, and they wield weird flagellant things. Yeah, they're very interesting. I mean, they're not my favorite, but I have to admit, they're cheeky little bastards. They are pretty interesting. So that's kind of interesting. If you want to play that kind of style of campaign using a lot of flagellants, then yeah, he's a good pick. Let's move on to vampire counts. Now, the vampire counts got this dude, Hellman Gorst. He is a necromancer, like our good friend Heinrich Kemmler, but quite a bit different. Yeah, so the backstory behind him is a little bit interesting. I'll let you find that out for yourself, though. But he has this interesting corpse cart that he can use as a mount, kind of a chariot type deal. But his faction effects are casualty replenishment rate plus 20%. That sounds amazing. That's really good. That's really nice. And then the other one is all units in Hellman Gorst's army receive poison attacks. That is really good. If you're going up against factions that have slightly less armored units, then that's going to make a huge difference. I mean, I haven't checked the balancing to see just how much of a difference poison attacks make, but if every single unit has poison attacks, that sounds like it could be pretty damned good. So I'm definitely going to have to check him out. That sounds very interesting. For additional starting units, he starts out with Graveguard, a Corpse Cart, which is a new unit, and then a Regiment of Renown, the Dire Pack Direwolves. And you saw that the Volkmar, or whatever his name is, had a Regiment of Renown too. They were a flagellant Regiment of Renown, and we'll talk about them in just a second. The other thing that I just want to point out really quick, and this is not part of the Grim and Grave DLC, this was a free update But they added for everybody a new legendary lord for the vampire counts, for Vlad von Karstein, who I believe, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he was the original Karstein vampire. I'm pretty sure that there was another vampire, Nagash, before him. I'm a little bit shaky on some of that lore, but apparently he is like a super vampire. He's the daddy vampire. He's the father of Manfred, and I'm pretty sure that he's in here for kicks and giggles. I don't think, like, in the time frame of this going on, he was even alive. I think he'd been killed, but I could be wrong. But either way, very cool looking dude. I mean, he doesn't even need a nose to be cool. Very interesting character, and he has some very good faction effects as well. He has campaign movement range plus 5%. This is a pretty generic one that a lot of people have, but his second one is very interesting. All units in Vlad von Karstein's army receive Vanguard deployment. That's intriguing. That means you could deploy some crazy units in some very interesting positions with him. So I'm kind of tossed. The vampire counts are my favorite faction, so I'm trying to decide who to start a new campaign with. It's a hard decision. Yeah, but he starts out with Blood Knights, Vargeis, and then some Fellbats. But the starting out with Blood Knights is really awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to try both of them at some point, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Vlad von Karstein just because he looks so badass. And I like the idea of playing as a vampire count. Okay. So, moving on. Let's go ahead and look at what we have added here. So, for the Empire, we already saw that we got Volkmar the Grim as a legendary lord, but you also get a new lord, a new generic lord called the Archlector. Apparently, the Archlector is a beefed up warrior priest. Yeah, you can see that Archlector's stats are, for the most part, better. But it's basically a warrior priest lord. And if I know my lore right, then the Archlectors are under Volkmar the Grim, the Grand Theogonist. So they are like the second in commands for the Cult of Sigmar. Could be wrong about that. Let me know if I am. And then they get some new units. They got Flagellants, as we've talked about before, which are very interesting. And my personal favorite new unit is the Free Company Militia. Why do I love these guys? Why is this my favorite unit that's added in this DLC? I don't know. I think they're just so damn awesome, though. They have a pistol in one hand and a sword in the other, and they have hodgepodged armor, and, well, they're not the best melee fighters, and they're not the best ranged, but they have both, and I like the idea of that. I don't know why. I think in one of the other Total War, for Medieval 2 Total War, there was the Third Age mod, the Lord of the Rings one, and I think if I remember right, that I don't know, like the Rangers and that were really cool. I liked the idea of the Rangers from Lord of the Rings, you know, being master bowsmen, but also pretty skilled in close quarters combat, though not super heavily armored. And that's basically kind of what these guys are. They're close. They don't obviously have the range that like handgunners and crossbowmen do. It's a much shorter range since they're just using pistols, but they just look so damn cool. You'll see them. Okay, and then next up they have Knights of the Blazing Sun. So this is another knightly order, similar to the Reichsguard. If you see here, this is a lovely new feature they've added too. You can actually see the stats and how they compare, which is really awesome. I mean, before they had the bars, but now they actually have the numbers there. So the Reichsguard have more armor. Yeah, the Reichsguard have more armor and more melee defense, but the Knights of the Blazing Sun have more speed, melee attack, weapon strength, and charge bonus. Knights of the Blazing Sun also have flaming attacks. Their lances are on fire. So that's kind of interesting, if you ask me. Then let's go over Regiments of Renown. So this is something new added. These are basically existing units. Well, they're pulled from existing units, but they are buffed up a bit. So we look at Swordsmen, you can see that their stats are buffed up. They have much better stats than their parent unit. So Swordsmen, you now have Sigmar's Sons Swordsmen. And so their stats are better, but then they also have some other special thing. For the Sigmar's Sons, they're unbreakable. So they will not flee in battle. They can be very valuable. One thing I'm not sure about, though, is that they don't gain experience currently. And I don't think they benefit from technology or leader skills like regular units do. So that, I think, needs to be fixed, because then the other units could become just as good as them. So there's probably a mod out there for that, and they might fix it. I don't know. That's just one gripe I have for the campaign. But either way, that's pretty cool. Then for the Flagellants, they have a unit of renown, the Tattersouls. Let's compare them to the regulars. So they have a lot more life. It goes from 120 to 160. So there's a lot more in their group. More melee attack, more melee defense, more charge bonus, and just a bigger unit. I think that's their big thing, is that it's just a bigger unit. Moving on, we have a Free Company Militia, Regiment of Renown, Sterling's Revenge. Let's just take a look here. So they have stock, and they are not weak against armor. They have armor-piercing missiles. Okay. And they just have a couple of better stats. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Then we have a special group of handgunners. We have the Silver Bullets. So these guys have slightly better stats as well, but the big thing with them is that they have magic missiles, if I remember right. They're using silver bullets. So apparently those are anti-monster things. I don't know. By the way, all of these Regiments Renown do have unique skins. We're going to take a look at that in just a second as well. Moving on to the Reichsguard, we have a special unit of Reichsguard, which is interesting. I thought the Reichsguard was unique enough, but we have Zintler's Reichsguard. And compared to their parent, they have Vanguard deployment, which is interesting, and then slightly better leadership, melee attack, and melee defense. Now, as if we didn't have enough fun times with the Demigriff Knights with halberds, we now have a Demigriff Knights with halberds Regiment of Renown. The Royal Altdorf Griffites. They are very expensive, though, and you still only get the same amount of them. But they cause terror is their big thing. So they are still armored, they're still armored piercing, they're still anti-large, but now they cause terror, and they have slightly better stats. Awesome. And I'm not going to go over the artillery as much, but basically there is a Great Cannon special, a Hellstorm Rocket Battery Regiment of Renown, and there's a Regiment of Renown Tempelhof Luminarch versus the regular Luminarch. Okay, moving on to the vampire counts. I'm going to take a drink of water because I'm talking so much. Lovely. Okay, so with the addition of Vlad von Karstein and Hellman Gorst, you also, like the Empire, get a new Lord type. This is the Strigoi Ghoul King. And he is very interesting. He is, to the best of my idea or knowledge from the lore, he's a vampire that's gone a little bit batshit crazy, even for a vampire. He's kind of allowed the vampire part of him to go wild, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. But he looks badass. He looks pretty crazy looking. He is a spellcaster, which is interesting. When you see him, you're not going to think he's a spellcaster, but he is a spellcaster. And it looks like he uses the Book of Death. Or is that? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's the Book of Death. But he's kind of interesting because he has very little armor for a legendary lord. I mean, even... he's got about as much... Yeah, he's got as much as the necromancers do. So basically, he's got the same armor as a necromancer. He does have poison melee attacks, though, which could be interesting to put him up against another lord and see how he does. He does have armor piercing as well, so in conjunction with that, the poison and his ability to use Spirit Leech, he could be a good he could be a good Lord Sniper. We'll have to see, though. Now, for infantry, the vampires don't get any new units in infantry, but they do get some regiments of renown, including the Tithe, which are... they're zombies. They're better zombies. I mean, there's 200 instead of 160, so it's a very large group, which is interesting. So they have a lot more life, and they actually have some better overall stats as well. And they actually wield kind of big maces. You'll see that, though, soon enough. And then next up, we have the Koningstein Stalkers Skeleton Warriors. These guys are really cool looking as well. They have kind of these Nordic spectacle helmets. Yeah, Nordic spectacle helmets. Is that what they're called? They're Spectre helmets. No, I believe they're called spectacle helmets. Anyways, so their big gist is that they get poison attacks, which is pretty cool. Although, if you're using Hellman Gorst campaign, these guys, I guess, wouldn't be that much greater. But you could use them in somebody else's army. They do have better stats overall, but not hugely better stats. But it is pretty decent. Next, we have the Feasters in the Dusk, which are special crypt ghouls. And they get Stalk. And Stalk is the unit can be hidden in any terrain. And then next up, I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit. I realize I'm going really slow. Next up, we have a special group of the Grave Guard. This is not the Grave Guard with great weapons. They are a special regular Grave Guard unit. So their big gist is they get regeneration and charge defense against all. So they actually have two specialties. They are quite a bit more in cost, and their stats aren't hugely better, but regeneration is quite nice. It allows the unit to heal while in battle. However, fire is known to harm the healing process. Interesting. They also have charge defense against all, which is also quite interesting. So these guys could be interesting to pit up against something like great swords or black orcs or something along those lines with infantry with a big charge bonus. I don't know if I'd pit them up against cavalry with the charge bonus just because they have that. I mean, it definitely would help, but I think that infantry with charge bonus would be best to use them for. Next up, we have their cavalry and chariots. So they have from the Black Knights with lances and barding, they have the Verix Reavers, which also have regeneration. And then they have an upgraded Hex Wraith, the Chillgeist. I do not know actually what they do. There's something that they do here. Let's see, it's this. Magic resist. Okay, so they have 25% magic resist, which is kind of cool, actually, because Hex Wraiths are ethereal, which means they have a... they ignore most damage by non-magical weapons, so the Chillgeist not only have ethereal, but they also have a magic resist of 25%, so that's pretty interesting. Not a huge upgrade in stats, but they aren't that much more expensive comparatively to some of the other ones. Next up, we have the Dire Pack Dire Wolves. Their big thing is that they have a bonus against large. They are an anti-large unit, which could be very good because Dire Wolves are quite quick, and they can catch most of these cavalry units. So having a Dire Wolf unit that can actually have an anti-large stat is very nice. I can definitely see these guys being useful because I don't use Dire Wolves all that much, but with that added onto it, I think I would. Next up, we have Vargeist, the Devils of Schwarzhofen. So they have Vanguard deployment, and they cause fear, as well as having some better stats in general. So that's pretty nifty. And then Artillery and War Machines, this is where we're seeing a very interesting, but to me kind of confusing addition of things. First of all, we have three different types of corpse carts. We have a regular corpse cart, which has regeneration. It regenerates units around it, I believe. And then the unit is surrounded by one or more magical auras that either support nearby friends or harms enemies. Then there's a Balefire one, which disrupts the enemy's magic casting, I guess. And then the Unholy Lodestone has mass regeneration. Okay, so this one regenerates nearby troops. Okay, kind of interesting. These basically act as chariots, by the way, magical chariots. We still have the Black Coach, which I still don't really use that much. I don't really get it. And then we have another weird vampire chariot thing that I don't understand. It's the Mortis Engine. I need to figure out how to use these things a little bit better because it seems like you should have something like this in your army. But this one does sound pretty good. Mass regeneration, so it's healing everyone around it. It increases the level of magic power reserves. It causes terror and has the magical aura to assist you or harm its foes. And then there's a Regiment of Renown associated with it, the Claw of Nagash, which, let's see, what does it do? It has magical resist. I can see that by just looking. So it's got magical resist. The stats are exactly the same on it, but it has the chilling aura, so it can slow enemies down and then as magic resist. Okay, cool. Cool. Now I'm just going to show you some quick clips from some battles I played earlier just against the AI, just to show off some of these Regiments of Renown and what they look like. So I'll be right back with that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with a lovely battle here going on between the Vampire Counts and the Empire. I'm going to go ahead and put it in theatrical mode, but oh my god, I have some shit going on here. But here are the Sterling's Revenge. Oh my gosh, wow, I should not have had them firing at those guys. But those are the Sterling Revenge Free Militia guys. They got pounded pretty hard before they got to do anything, unfortunately. But let's just take a look while they're fighting off the Black Knights there. The Free Militia here. If those effects would go away, that would be lovely. You can see these guys are just very lovely looking. Very fantastic. Actually, let's go back here and let's see this. So this is the Regiment of Renown Hellstorm Rocket Battery. It has more rockets, and I believe it reloads faster. So this thing just unloads, and that's why there's all those explosions going on. And then these cannons are also different. I think they're just gold colored. These are also gold colored. And then the Luminarch of Drakenhof, I believe it was. There it goes. Pew! Okay, awesome. Cool. Alright, so the battle is underway now. You can see some of these guys here with their pistols and sabers. And here come the Flagellants. The Flagellants are these dudes with 2 maces here. They are dual-wielding, lovely maces. They're wearing no armor. And you can see that they like to flagellate themselves. My god, the chaos of war. They're pretty crazy. You know, they're willing to just run right into the fray here, no matter the cost. You can see they're charging in now too to help the free militias here. We got all sorts of crazy things happening here. All right, let's go check out this. So this is the new Reichsguard Regiment of Renown here, getting ready to charge. Let's see. Oh, also I do have some of the Knights of the Blazing Sun here. They are fighting with some of the ghouls and zombies. I actually don't know if I like the effects on the lances for these guys or the Grail Knights. It's a little bit distracting when I'm trying to look at them. It's cool, I admit, but I'd actually prefer not to have that. I might have to look for a mod that does that. Also, you can see Volkmar. Hold on, where is he? Volkmar, where are you? Yes, Volkmar's right here where we can't see him. So let's go back over here. Oh yeah, I also have the Silver Bullet handgunners here. I had them up on this cliff. They were able to get a few shots off, but it's such a weird angle. I wish they would fix the clipping so that you get maybe a little bit closer to the edge, but I guess it just doesn't really work that well in Total War. I mean, if they did fix it so I could get a little bit closer, some of them might like stand really too close to the edge, so I get why they're not, but that would be cool. So let's go back over here. I also have Sigmar's Sun Swordsman here. You can see they have a little bit different coloring for their shields and whatnot. Some of the Regiments of Renown are just different colors with their special things, but most of them have not just different colors, but other slightly different cosmetic differences. They are slight, though. They still have their parent unit. You can see these guys have like the weird thing on the horse's head there as they charge. Now, I also have some of the Altdorf, the Royal Altdorf Griffites. These guys look pretty cool with their armor, and their griffins are actually kind of a bluish silver color, which is kind of intriguing. More, I believe, yeah, more of the knights, the Blazing Knights over here fighting off more Black Knights. But let's go back to the main fight. Let's see what's going on here. Let's find our leader. I believe he's somewhere in here. Yes, there he is. I should have taken the chariot with him. Unfortunately, I did not, but you can kind of see, you know, he's a wizard. He's got a staff that has a hammer, and he's also got a flaming hammer, so pretty cool dude, I'm not gonna lie. Not my favorite of the lords, but he is a pretty cool addition. And he has some interesting abilities. Whoa. Yeah, that's one of his abilities. Mostly he's got buffing and debuffing stuff. And I don't think he actually counts as a mage, though. Yeah, he's not actually a mage, so I apologize if I worded that wrong. Oh, here come the Altdorf. Oh, lovely. That is brutal. So he doesn't have like magic in the sense that some of the other mages do, so he doesn't have a lot of spells. But he has about 5 different things. Let's go see. I believe I have the special flagellant unit around here somewhere. Let's find them before this is over. It's almost over, so let's really quickly. Flagellants, the Tattersouls. There we go. Let's go look at the Tattersouls. I don't think they look too much different. Actually, I think they're the ones with the crazy hair, if I remember right. And earlier I said that they had weird flail things, and I apologize. That is actually from the Witch Hunter DLC for Mordheim City of the Damned, and I had just forgotten that they were different. Okay, Outdoor Griffites are going after the last... Oh, here he is. This is the Strigoi Ghoul King there. That is what he looks like. He kind of looks like... Well, not really like a Crypt Ghoul. Maybe has kind of the same body style, but very interesting. He's got like horns coming out of him and shit. But he's just basically a batshit vampire. A wild, savage vampire. I don't know how to better describe it than that, but these guys are going to town on him now. They've got him surrounded. It could be an interesting addition. I'll have to see, though. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to load up a replay with the Regiments of Renown from the Vampire Counts, so I'll be right back with that. Okay, so in this replay, we're playing as the Vampire Counts. Now, I will just give you the heads up that in the last replay, as the Empire, I had all new units or Regiments of Renown. In this one, I have some old units, like just regular Graveguard, as you can see there, because the Vampire Counts didn't receive enough new units with this update to warrant an entire army of just Regiment of Renown and new ones. But let's go ahead and take a quick look while they're not moving. These are the Coningston Stalkers. These guys look fucking awesome. I mean, just look at that. Oh, I love those helmets, the spectacle helmets. Their clothing looks a little bit different, but it's the helms, the shields, just some slight cosmetic changes there. And then the Feasters in the Dusk, these guys are a slightly different color than their brethren. I'm not sure if they're much different than that. And then we have the Tithe Zombies. You can see these guys have very large maces and Morningstar almost looking dealios, so that's pretty interesting. Then we have a regular Graveguard unit, followed by the Sternsman Graveguard unit. I think for them, the color of their armor is darker, like black, versus kind of more of that faded bronze rusty look. Other than that, I don't know what the differences are. The shields maybe a little bit. Not as big of a cosmetic change as some of the other ones. Here's a dire pack of dire wolves. They're a slightly darker color and they're bigger. I don't think I have another dire wolf group to show you though. And then hex wraiths versus the chill guys. Basically the same thing, just blue instead of green. So kind of interesting. I'm going to let it play now. Then I have the Devils of Schwarzhofen. These are the Vargeist. They are a darker color, and they might be a little bit larger. I don't think they're actually larger, but they are a darker color. Not a huge change there. And then I brought the Varix Reavers here, which are basically like the Graveguards are basically Black Knights mounted, and these guys are basically like the other Regiment of Renown Graveguard unit, but mounted. So they look pretty good. Look pretty good. I actually much prefer that armor versus the kind of shinier rusty bronze. I wouldn't say shiny necessarily, but I like this dark armor color. It looks pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so I also have, as you can see, the Claw of Nagash here. This is one of the new, not only one of the new units, but the Regiment of Renown version of it. It's got some ethereal Black Knights that work it. I don't know. It's a very strange thing. I don't know if I like them. I mean, it's pretty cool looking. I won't lie. I mean, the spirits, like the banshees, like flying up and down. It's got like a necromancer on it, and it has some pretty cool effects. But it's very different. Then I'm pretty sure here's our this is our leader here. So I did remember to give him his vehicle, but this is Hellman Gorst. Pretty interesting looking dude. Basically just a necromancer though. Although I think he has a unique unit to raise Graveguard right off the bat. I can't remember though for sure. And then I have a corpse cart with unholy lodestone. Yeah, so I'm not doing so good at using these. Oh, that's actually pretty cool. It actually joints here, so it actually moves correctly. But I don't know what they're doing here. I don't know why these zombies aren't at least kind of oh, there they go. Now they're kind of swinging. But it should probably be used more as a chariot again, like moving it through units. And then here the Sternsman Grave Guard. They're going to rip through this pretty easily. In the back line here, you can see I've moved in a bunch of knights, a bunch of my cavalry. So I'm going up against the Knights of the Blazing Sun, which could be a little bit difficult for most of my units, but Hex Wraiths might be able to deal with them. They're usually the best anti-cavalry, anti-heavy knight units. I also brought Blood Knights just because they are a new-ish unit. They were added after release, and they do look pretty awesome, I have to admit. They're pretty damn cool. They're my favorite cavalry unit in the game, so I guess just a little bit cool is a little bit of an understatement in my opinion, but they're pretty damn awesome. I also got the dire pack moving in. I think they chased off some of the engines over there. Then I have the chill guys. They're finishing up some swordsmen that came at them, and something else came at them. I can't remember what now. But yeah, so we're just going to look at this. We're going to get a lovely look at the flagellants as well coming into this fight. I love that with the Blood and Gore pack that they took the time and effort to, since the vampire count units like the skeletons can't really bleed because they're skeletons, they make it so they lose their heads and their arms, but they're magical, you know, they're magically brought back to life, so, you know, they don't need their heads or arms, they just keep fighting, so the longer they fight, they start missing body pieces, and I fucking love that. That is really cool. Oh, and here's the the Klav Nagash coming in. Oh, and here's the Coningston Guards. These guys are probably my favorite edition. I don't know why, I just really love how they look. Really jerky though. Trying to watch the skeletons fight is kind of interesting because their movements are just so jerky, like the skeletons from the Argonauts, or Jason and the Argonauts. Okay, well, we're gonna let that end, but I'm gonna end this here. I didn't show Vlad because I didn't want to do another battle. This video is already long enough as it is. It's way longer than I actually kind of wanted it to be. I wanted it to be around 10 minutes, but you know how I am. I get ranting, and I just like to talk about random shit that I'm thinking about. So, yeah, that's it. Oh, here they come. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, my opinion on the Grim in the Grave is that it adds a lot of very interesting content. I like what it does. Some cool new units, some cool ideas with the Regiments of Renown, and the 2 Legendary Lords and the 2 Regular Lords adds are also very awesome. And I honestly think that this is an even better purchase for the money than the Beastmen DLC. The Beastmen DLC adds more and adds a whole new faction, which I think is more content, but this, for the price, I think is better. If they're both the same price, then Beastmen would be better. But for the price, this adds some really awesome content. So, yeah, if you're on the fence about it, then, you know, that's my recommendation. I think it's worth the price. However, I would also watch maybe somebody else's review of it because, honestly, I am really enjoying this game thus far, and I don't have a ton of negative qualms about it. A few, but well, maybe I'll talk about that in a different video. Anyways, again, ranted long enough. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.